Welcome to episode 19 of the NewsNale. This episode is going to be focused on our 2024 predictions. NewsNale, brought to you by Nails Ed, a learning and development platform focused on professional communications in writing, presentations, and meeting management. We offer online and in-person communications coaching. See our website at nailsed.com. And coming up this year, something new in a couple of weeks, we're going to be offering office hours, both live in person here in Bozeman, Montana, and virtually via Zoom. A link would be sent to you after you RSVP. Information about that will be talked about later and is on nailsed.com. So let's get to it. Let's get to our predictions. First of all, we're going to be talking about something near and dear to my heart, higher ed. This is the year that there's going to be significant disruption. I know we've called for it in the past. Due to the growth of online learning thanks to COVID. But this year, I think it's going to happen, and it's ripe for disruption. What are industries or businesses that are ripe for disruption when costs go up, but delivery hasn't changed? Higher ed in this country, prices have gone up more than anything, including healthcare, up over 1,000% in the last 30 years, yet the method of delivery hasn't changed one bit. How does that happen? Why is there no change? Because the inmates are running the asylum. The tenured faculty, the folks that have jobs for life, they're running these institutions. They have the power, and they are not focused like good businesses on the end user, the student. They're focused on themselves, waking up every day trying to determine, how do I do less and how do I be less accountable because I can't get fired. And so human behavior, when you can't get fired, tends to drive you to doing less, and because they can't get raises on performance because that's dictated by either private school boards or by, in public schools, by their local government. So there's no incentive to do better because you can't get a raise. You're not going to get fired, so you just do less. And you've seen this from some of your faculty that do these textbook and vocabulary test classes, I call them. They have you read a few chapters in a textbook. Then they present slides from the textbook's publisher in class, and then a few weeks later you get a test on it, generally a vocabulary test. Not very inspiring, you don't learn a lot, not very student focused, but that's what's happened, and that is ripe for disruption. This lack of focus on the needs and the safety of students is going to be exposed, and it has been exposed. And how will it be exposed? It's going to be exposed via plagiarism and their poor performance recently in front of a national press. Consider the lack of outrage by the university presidents to the actions on their campuses in the form of anti-Semitic actions and comments, calls for genocide, post the October Hamas invasion in Israel. Most noticeably were the three kind of big-time colleges on the East Coast, MIT, Penn, and Harvard. Their presidents were called in front of Congress, and they performed miserably. They could not come out and say what was happening on their campuses was wrong. This brought national focus on it. They took a lot of heat. Liz McGill at Penn stepped down. She wasn't fired. Mind you, she resigned, and Claudine Gay at Harvard stepped down, but not for the actions or the lack of action on what was happening on her campus, because someone pointed out that she had plagiarized in her research that garnered her PhD, that enabled her to have a tenured faculty position, and that's why she stepped down. So this plagiarism is a big deal, and this is a weapon that the press or the far right or anyone is going to use to expose institutions and the faculty at those institutions that run them as being frauds. Back in 2019, Pippa Smart and Thomas Gaston did some research, found that 15% of the research they looked at, these were publications done by professionals working to get their master's and their PhD, 15% had plagiarism. But most people think it's much higher. It's somewhere between 50 to 70%. Back to the Claudine Gay example, she claims her plagiarism was minor. It was actually 50 instances over 17 pieces of published work. And this plagiarism is not, missing a citation or an attribution or a quote here and there. Her plagiarism was real plagiarism. She copied paragraphs of content without altering them or using any quote marks, and claimed it as her work. And that's the work that got her $900,000 a year job for life, because when she stepped down, resigned, again, not fired, from the presidency of Harvard, she retained her teaching job at $900,000 a year for life. Imagine what's going to happen to the first student that submits a paper that's plagiarized. She has no moral authority to call them on that. So what's going to happen is more and more people are going to start to looking in the backgrounds of this tenured class, which are running these institutions. AI is going to make that easier. Someone's going to come up with a quick AI tool that will review all the published work of these PhD faculty, and they will be exposed. So universities have a choice. They can step forward and do the review themselves and clean up their act, or outsiders will do it. I know I'm kind of interested. How about you, especially those of you still in school, having a tough time with a professor? Check out their published work that they did and their research, see if it's honest and straightforward, and if it's not, maybe they don't have to be your teacher anymore. So change is a-coming in higher ed. Onward into the industry of entertainment. I think we're going to start seeing the slow death of Hollywood and the box office, and because there's less movies that bring people out to the theater. Barbenheimer was awesome this summer, and it brought a lot of folks out, but the industry is going to need several Oppenheimers, like every 2 to 3 weeks, to get back to where it used to be in its heyday. When I was a kid, movies like this happened at least 3 or 4 times during the summer. We waited in line for blockbuster movies. It just doesn't happen anymore. We waited in line for Jaws and for Star Wars. Think about the last time, do you remember even lining up to go see a movie in a theater? Probably hasn't happened in quite some time, and so that's going to impact Hollywood. It's just not the same as it was before, and so a lot of the money and a lot of the talent is going to start seeping out of LA, out of Hollywood, into other places that are creating entertainment, kind of like what happened in Detroit, where Japan and other parts of the country were just more efficient and more effective in their manufacturing, places like Tennessee and Texas, and it pulled all the brain power and the working power out of Detroit, left a shell of a city. It's making a great comeback. Go Lions. Way to go, Michigan. They're not in Detroit. Anyway, so we see that happening in Hollywood. Why is that happening? Because what we're seeing is entertainment and viewership and consumption of entertainment is moving from a big screen to a smaller screen to even smaller screen to your phone. So you're not watching on your computer, you're watching it on your phone because you can take it with you. It's much more controllable. It's much more easier to watch. You can just sit down and watch it. You don't have to wait in line. And a great example of this was the blockbuster, quote unquote, blockbuster Killers of the Flower Moon movie that was launched only in theaters. And over the first 14 days got 10 million viewers. Really great. What the cost of that was $20 per viewer. On the flip side, you have TikTok, right? And in just 6 days gets 21 million views. And the cost of that content per view, we all guessed it, pretty close to 0.006 cents, because TikTok doesn't create the content. They create the algorithm to keep you watching the content, but their users create the content. And this is going to continue to happen. We see this across the board. ByteDance, which is the parent company of TikTok, they saw their advertising revenue growth 40% last year, twice as much as the 3 closest ones. And while volume of dollars is much lower than Amazon and Facebook and Google, their growth is considerably higher, and that continues to grow. At that pace, they will be up there with the big boys. Amazon's revenue growth only grew 26% only. It's quite a bit. Facebook, or Meta, the parent company of Facebook, grew 23%. Alphabet, the parent company of Google, grew 11%. So you're seeing a rapid growth of these smaller screen viewed streaming type social media content vehicles. The other example, you're seeing the stock performance of these traditional providers of entertainment, Paramount, Warner Brothers, Disney, both down last year over the roughly 12 months from November of 22 to the end of November or October 23. Paramount's down 41%, Warner Brothers down 26%, Disney down 23%. You're going to see mergers for those companies to survive. They can't keep it going alone. Netflix, their stock grew 44%. Again, a different type of way to get media. It's not produced in Hollywood. And even they are talking about some type of merger coming forward to survive. So the economics are shifting out of Hollywood and into other areas of production. And again, if you really want to look at more support, Pew did a survey of 1,500 13 to 17-year-olds last year. It's the second year in a row they did it. They found that 93% of all 13 to 17-year-olds, all of them, and that's a great target demographic because as the tobacco industry learned, you get those teens early, you got them for life, right? 93% watch YouTube. And it's not just YouTube. On a daily basis, these teens visit YouTube 71% of the time, TikTok 63% of the time, Snapchat 60% of the time, Instagram 59%. They're spending their time there. How much time are they spending? Well, according to TechCrunch, they're spending almost 4 hours a day on just 3 of these platforms. 113 minutes, that's more than an hour and a half on TikTok, over an hour, 77 minutes on on YouTube, and about an hour, 52 minutes on Netflix. It's 4 hours a day. That's 28 hours a week. That's like a day, a week on these platforms. And that they don't have time left over for TV or to go to the movies, right? And adults doing the same thing. They're spending about 3 hours on the same platforms, right? An hour on Netflix, almost an hour on TikTok at 54 minutes, and just under an hour at 49 minutes on YouTube. That's 3 hours a day, and adults don't have that much free time. So why are they spending their time there? Because they're saving time doing that, because we don't really like choice. We spend almost 2 hours a week trying to decide what to eat. We spend almost an hour a week deciding what to watch on Netflix. We don't like that. We think we like choice, but we don't. It takes too much time. And these platforms have all the algorithms. You don't have to even answer questions. You don't have to do anything. Their algorithms will continue to serve up content you want to watch. So the growth of TikTok is based on the fact that they provide recommendations without you doing anything. It's just based on the algorithm and what you're watching. It takes no time for TikTok to serve up your content, which is why if you've ever gone on it, all of a sudden 45 minutes has gone by, you had no idea what happened. So coming out of this, who are the losers and the winners? Well, the losers, of course, are linear TV, obviously, all ad-supported media, if you will, and Hollywood, the film industry. And the winners are going to be, sports. That's the only thing that is compelling enough that people are willing to watch the ads to watch. And the rest are YouTube, TikTok, Netflix, generative AI, which we'll talk about later. All right. Now, knowing this, there's a dark underside of this that needs to be addressed, and that needs to happen this year, and I predict it will. Teams have way too much unsupervised access to and continual constant use of these social media apps with no training or guidance. You recall, thanks to Frances Haugen, the whistleblower, the release of the Facebook files, and if you haven't listened to it on the Journal, I highly recommend you do. I think it's 3 episodes, but what you find is Facebook was doing pretty menacing things they knew about that was going on. They knew that 1 in 3 teen girls got negative mental effects due to watching Instagram, yet they kept putting it out there. They didn't block it at all. In fact, they were about to launch Instagram for kids, if you can believe it, before the Facebook files came out. And this absolutely, positively needs to be addressed. We need to protect our young people. We must, and do something to protect them from the harmful effects of social media. And it's crazy that we don't do it. We do it with other things that are dangerous to our youth. We age gate tobacco. We age gate liquor. We age gate driving. We can age gate social media. They say it's hard. All the big social media leaders out there, the Zuckerberg and Sergey Brin, they all say, oh, it's really hard to do it. No, it's not. What's hard was developing these platforms in the first place. What's hard was putting it out there for all of us to be attracted to it and then tracking every movement that we make on it to keep us hooked on it. It's creating the algorithms to keep us stuck on these social media platforms for 4 hours a day. That's hard. What's hard is overhearing someone's conversation about a keto diet and then serving up ads for the keto diet on their Instagram feed. All right, so Professor Nealon's trying to drop that last 5 pounds. Maybe the keto diet will do it. We'll see. But anyway, that's hard. What's not hard is trying to figure out how to create some type of training or hurdles or gates or processes that ensure our youngest, most impressionable minds are not destroyed by it. Onward to something healthy tech, addressing the obesity issue. Our country, the clinically obese in this country is outrageous. 42.4% of our country is clinically obese. This is versus the global average of 19.8%. We are twice the global average. It's horrible. And we've been trained to do it by the industrial food complex, by just being lazy. But thanks to Ozempic, a drug originally formulated for and indicated for diabetes, it also curbs appetite and it curbs junk food. It curbs wanting to eat those things that are bad for us. Ozempic's not alone. There's a class of GLP-1 drugs. There are few out there. There are a few more coming. These drugs are going to change entire cultures, entire economies. And let's think about this. Remember you read Jim Collins, Great by Choice, great book, by the way. He has a concept called zoom out, zoom in. So let's zoom in for a second. The drugs are effective because they suppress the appetite, especially for junk type food. So people are going to lose weight. Well, let's zoom out. What happens when you zoom out and you're not eating as much? You have more energy. You want to do more things that you weren't doing before, you couldn't even think of before. You're going to travel more because you're going to be more active. You're going to want to redo your wardrobe. So people that make apparel for slim, not just big and tall anymore, as people restock their wardrobe. People that make sporting goods, outdoor activity companies will increase. You think about all those things that more healthier, active people do. Those companies are going to do quite well. Who's going to be on the losing side? As you can imagine, the fast food complex folks like McDonald's, Taco Bell, even PepsiCo and Coke with the snack food divisions that are serving up Doritos and potato chips and all the junk food, the Kellogg's Snacks brands, the Hershey's, all the stuff in the middle of the grocery store that's just bad processed food that kills you. Those are going to be negatively affected, and you're going to see probably less alcohol drinking. You're already seeing it now. There's studies that show the younger generation is drinking less. It's not that they're not altering their state less. They're just doing it differently, probably more like with cannabis, maybe ketamine, kind of like Elon, but that's a whole nother day, whole nother story. But anyway, so that's what you're going to see in that industry. Moving on, let's talk about AI. It's in the news. A lot of companies, blew up last year thanks to AI. You look at companies like ChatGPT, OpenAI, Anthropic, all kind of grew. Anyone that added AI to their name, their stocks grew. I think that has plateaued. And the great growth companies are going to be the big guys. They're going to come in and take this AI and they're going to put it in a form that all of us can use. Because really, I think between you and me, probably 10 to 15% of people really know what AI can do and how to use AI and how to put it to use. The other 85, 90% of us need to be spoon-fed. And who spoon-feeds better than Microsoft and Google, right? So they're going to take AI and they're going to put it in a format that makes it usable for us, makes it understandable for us. Microsoft has already launched Copilot Google has launched Gemini. They've already put it in their search results. So it's going to, the big guys are going to start getting the benefit from AI, and you'll see their stocks move in a positive way. Now, how's that going to impact the greater economy? There is going to be what I call the AI economic offset. AI will cause productivity to increase. Those of us that are less intimidated by it, and I really encourage everyone to kind of play around with ChatGPT or Anthropic. It does help you do research better. It helps you write first drafts of things better. It gets you content. It'll help folks be more productive. In fact, it'll probably even start to replace what we call cognitive manual labor jobs, such as assistants, bookkeepers, people that filing type jobs, bank tellers, just really repetitive kind of manual labor jobs, inputting information, doing research. What'll start happening is companies will need less because people are more productive that do those jobs. They can do more, and pretty soon those jobs will be eliminated. So that'll have two effects. When you go to ask for a raise, if you have that job, you're going to be less confident. So your wages are not going to increase as quickly. On top of that, other economic pressures, job growth is starting to slow down and actually decrease. It was down 1.7% in December of 23. That was down 1.7% versus the previous 3 months. But it is showing that job growth is going down. The number of available jobs is reducing. And payrolls are not going up as quickly. They're staying the same. What's happening with inflation? It is not being tamed. In fact, there's an article in the Journal yesterday that showed inflation is actually up a little bit in December, which shows that it's still there. It's still going to say, I think it's going to stay higher than usual. So the net of job growth and salaries either staying the same at best or going down, but inflation going up, the real income, what you really think you have in your pocket, goes down because what you have is buying less. And so that's going to cause the economy to sputter. The only thing to offset that, given an election year, folks in power will do everything they can to kind of goose the economy because people actually at the end of the day vote with their wallets. If the economy's not good, generally the people in power do not stay there. So net, what we're going to see is kind of at best the same economy as last year. At worst, it's going to sputter and decline just a bit. So let's see how that affects an industry close to my heart, the ski industry. The ski industry has become incredibly expensive. I think the industry is in for a big hit. Day passes alone are up 20 to 25%. It's $300 a day at Park City, and that's not even a great mountain. It's $250 a day here at Big Sky. And this is thanks to a couple of things. One, the mass passes are there. So if you are stuck without a 10-day pass or an icon pass, you are forced to buy a day pass, and they know you're forced to, so they're going to make you pay as much as possible. It's also consolidation. The 50 largest ski resorts that generate 80% of the revenue, and they're owned, roughly those 50 are owned by 4 or 5 companies. So you add to the day pass cost, you add to that the cost of gear is going up, the cost of travel is going up, the cost of accommodations is going up, the cost of dining out is going up. You add that to it, and it's a really expensive kind of vacation. In fact, it's around $15,000 to $20,000 a week for a family of 4 to go skiing. That's a lot of money, and that is just not sustainable. Let's take it local here to Big Sky. They took the same hallucinogen that Peloton did and forecasted their growth based on the performance that they had during the COVID years when people were getting checks to stay home and skiing and outdoor activity was something you could do. And thanks to Kevin Costner in Yellowstone, people had to ski in Montana. So they all came out here. We had a bunch of people here skiing Big Sky. And so they got a big loan, went out and put in a big tram, $25 million tram. They're putting in a gondola. Instead of focusing on those things that make your everyday skiers day enjoyable, replacing slower chairs, more direct chairs, putting better dining. Anyway, you put that all together, and it's a nice mountain, but it's not a $250 a day mountain. And even now, they're charging $250 a day, and only 30% of the mountain is skiable, and that's outrageous. And again, you can get that when people are stuck there and they realize we've paid 15 grand to bring the family here and now I got to buy a pass. But they'll do that only once. What I learned at Procter & Gamble in my consumer packaged goods days is these are called trial rejectors. I'll buy you once. If I'm not satisfied and there's other choices out there, I will never buy you again. And we started to see that last year. There was a decline in visits to Big Sky. I'm seeing it this year. So I think Big Sky, like other mountains that are overpriced, the ski industry is going to take a hit. Let's move on. Oh yeah, and so the net of that is instead of paying 15, 20 grand for a family of four to go on the ski vacation, what are mom and dad gonna say? Hey, let's go visit Granny and Gramps in Florida or Phoenix. So net, the overall industry is gonna take a hit. Onward, two, quick, we'll go through about a few of these here on speed dial, some fun things that are in the news. Travis and Taylor, aren't they cute? Here's what's going to happen after next football season. I say Travis is going to retire. He's been laying the groundwork for this. He's going to go into entertainment. He's going to go into movies, something like that. They're going to get married and live happily ever after. Love the Flacco story in Cleveland. They got a strong defense. Defense wins championships. I say they make it to the Super Bowl, but I think the San Francisco 49ers will make it as well, and they will beat the Browns in the Super Bowl. The Yankees will continue to suck. They traded all their pitching away for one guy, Juan Soto, for 1 year, by the way. They only have Soto for 1 year, thinking that they were going to get Yamamoto. They didn't get Yamamoto. He's a great pitching prospect. So they have no plan B. Actually, their plan B is Cashman's always plan B for pitching is to pick up some discounted broken arms off the injury trash heap of Major League pitching, a la Frankie Montas, and they'll continue to do that, and they'll continue to suck, and they won't make the World Series, probably not even make the playoffs. And by the way, the Dodgers, with the two greatest players in the game, theoretically, they're not even going to win the World Series. Don't know who will, though. And a big prediction here, I made it a few months ago. I know it was crazy then, it's still crazy now. I do not think our choice this fall is going to be between two demented old white men. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Trump is going to be the nominee, and Trump is the only opponent that the Democrats think Biden can win. So if it's not Trump, the Democrats are going to step forward and try to find someone else than Biden. And I don't even know how you could pull a lever for a guy who's going to be 86 on his last day in the office if he was reelected. 86. Come on. It's just not going to happen. So we'll see two different people. I don't know who it's going to be. And I think Trump's not going to be the nominee because he is going to cop a plea deal, because there's only a 1% chance that he doesn't cop a plea deal or he doesn't go to jail, thanks to Scott Galloway. Let's quickly do the math. He's got 4 indictments against him. 4. 2 federal, 2 state. The state ones are in Georgia and in New York. New York for tax and reporting violation, Georgia for charge for election tampering, and the federal counts are in Miami for his handling of the national security documents. There's even a video and an audio of him saying he did it. And in DC for the January 6 riots. We know with federal investigations, these attorneys general aren't schlubs at their job, that they get a 94% conviction rate. So he's got to get through 2 94% conviction rates, 2, one after the other. And then statewide, Georgia has a conviction rate of 90%. And then of people that get convicted, 74% get prison time. So just said that, so let's look at that. If he's got to run through 4 indictments that have anywhere from a 90 to 94% conviction rate. And then once convicted, he's got to run through 4 times of not going to jail. That means he's got a 26% of not going to jail times 4. That brings us to roughly less than 1% of getting through that, or a 99% chance that he gets jail time. And he will, if that does happen, he will not run. I mean, a lot of people say he'll run and then pardon himself, but 2 of these indictments are in state courts, and a federal pardon does not work at the state level. So he would be facing jail time. And if you're Donald Trump and you're obese, he's one of those 42.4% obese, and you're 77 years old and you're looking at jail time that you probably won't live through or survive, or you can continue living in your altered state of reality at your country clubs with porn stars. What are you going to choose? So I don't think we're going to see him on, as the nominee, and I think he's going to cop a deal. So in sum, higher ed, ripe for disruption. Plagiarism is going to take down some people or cause universities to review. The slow exodus of interest and money from Hollywood and LA will be spread around the world to more versatile, controllable entertainment options that can be viewed from smaller screens. The GLP-1 drugs are finally going to tame obesity and improve the lives and change the spending habits of many, many obese people. The ski industry is going to take a tumble. We've got Trailer or Tacey or whatever the combination of Travis and Taylor you can put together is going to happen. 49ers win the Super Bowl. Yankees still suck. And Donald's going to be wearing more than just orange on the top of his head. It's going to be on his body. And that's it for our 2024 predictions, the year of the dragon. Thank you for listening. And hopefully we'll see you in the new year. Again, where we might see you, what's new for us is office hours. Again, starting Wednesday the 24th, you'll receive emails from us. If you want to make sure, please visit us at nailsed.com. Go to the office hours page and sign up. And office hours is for anything you need to discuss, what's going on in your life, whether you're starting college, you're in college looking at internships, you want to know how to interview, you've got an offer, you don't know how to deal with it or negotiate it, you've got a job, how do you ensure success from day one, how do you get a good, productive review at your job so you continue to get better, how do you transition from one job to another. Let's say you have a bad manager. How do you manage your manager successfully, especially in challenging solutions? That's all stuff we can talk about. I can give it to you live. I can give it to you real, as I always do. Live is 8 to 10 here at Mukai Coffee House, the old Cold Smoke on 19th. Zoom, 5 to 7 in the evening. A link will be provided once you RSVP. Hope to see you at office hours. Thank you very much. This is NewsNale from Nails Ed, learning and development platform focused on improving your professional communications and writing, presentations, and meeting management. Hope you have a great rest of your week, a great 2024, and we'll be back in another week or so with another Nails Ed. Have a great weekend and a rest of 2024. We're out.